Fucking some of you fuckers may know we have an album coming up. We've fucking finished recording it. We've finished fucking mastering it. It's time to fucking play one from that album. This one's about speaking with the dead. It's called Speaking with the Dead.
Welcome to the program. I'm your host, Steve Mitchell, back for another big episode here at the Realm. And joining me is the king of blackouts, or at least solar eclipses. Skull, how you doing, mate?
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of Cyberland. As you know, this is Skull broadcasting from the past, present, and future in the Chamber of the Cosmos. Here with my good friend Steve Oz from Ozland. I've been an off again, on again DC bomb rock band Black Manta. I've been in the scene for 35 years. I know people from all over the scene. I also worked at the Smithsonian for 20 years and have incorporated my love and passion for history and my love and passion for music. So, as usual, always really excited to be here. And we have a special guest with us here today, Jarvis Leatherby, bass player and singer from Night Demon. How you doing, Jarvis?
Good. Thanks for having me. Are you currently in DC? You still in DC?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we're actually going to be coming out there on June 22nd, and we actually one of our only goal is to go to the Smithsonian. So that's
Wow. That's awesome.
That's our only plan. So
Well, I
we've
could
got
I
a
could
gig.
I could be your private tour guide.
That'd be awesome, man. We've got a gig near Baltimore the following day. So, but we're flying into DC from Spain, and yeah, that's the only thing on our list besides storming the Capitol. But like we'll
So,
see.
well,
So
so for the audience out there, you wanted to just give us a background, like which band you're talking about, because I know you're multiple bands.
that will be Cirith
You're a
Ungol.
hardworking guy.
Yeah, that'll be Cirith Ungol will be coming out there, but Night Demon guys will be there too. We share band members, and our drummer techs for Cirith Ungol, so both bands will be out there for
Well,
that.
you know what's
So
really funny about that is there's a band opening for you guys at the Doomfest called Black
mhm.
Manta.
And that's you.
That's my band.
Okay, well there you go, man. All right, there you
So
go.
yeah, we'll
So
get to hang out, we'll get to chill, we'll
yeah,
get to
great.
meet face to face and all that. Spread
Uh,
the power of rock and roll.
perfect, perfect. Right on.
It'll be killer, man.
And
Yeah.
and prior to Doomfest, you guys are coming out to Australia. Can you tell us how you sort of got that lined up?
Yeah, so Night Demon had a tour booked out there, and I was talking with Anthony, the promoter, and he was like, "Hey, you know, you playing Cirith Ungol as well?" I said, "Yeah," and he's like, "Yeah, people are kind of nuts for that band out here in the underground." And he said, he just kind of mentioned like maybe we should set something up in the future for them. And I said, well, this is their final year of touring, um, or playing live
Hmm.
shows, so like now is the time. So we have
This is
such a
it.
busy schedule. We have such a busy schedule this year between both bands. So I was like, look, we share band members, we share crew, so let's just combine this and see if we can make it a tour with both bands. And it worked out that way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I was
And
looking
And
at you have quite an impressive repertoire of bands that you've either played in or that you manage. And so there's Cirith Ungol and it's Satan. And I also saw Jaguar. Do you jam with those guys?
I sang in the band for 3 or 4 years, actually.
Wow.
I don't any longer. They're kind of inactive. I'm
Hmm.
hoping that they start up again and do something, but they're kind of spread out all over the world. So I last time I talked to them, they did get a singer, a permanent guy, but they haven't done anything with them since, or yet. So we'll see. But there's always hope. I mean,
Well,
when
I have
the
to
when
ask,
band
how did you
members go
well,
ahead.
I was gonna say, how did you get involved with all these amazing, like old school, like new album bands, and how did that
Yeah,
all
it's weird.
happen?
It's just kind of like through evolution, I guess. I mean, like I'm a big fan of the subgenre, and
Mm,
basically, I mean, all roads kind of led from Night Demon. I mean, it was just basically us touring the world and playing festivals and playing with a
mm,
lot of these old school bands that I grew up admiring, and just kind of becoming friends with them over the time. It's kind of weird, like you end up playing in. I mean, some of my favorite bands of all time from that era, I've probably played with and hung out with, on close to like 10 different countries. So over time, you just start to get to know each other, right?
sure.
And then there's other things that happen, like once you kind of have a reputation for doing X, Y, and Z, um, just sometimes the phone rings or somebody recommends you for something. Like with the Jaguar thing, it was like Night Demon had covered their song Axe Crazy, and we had kind of been in contact with them very loosely. And then it came to be a thing where I saw that they were playing a festival and I knew that they didn't have a singer. So I asked them, like, hey, I'd like to go see you guys. Who's singing for the band now? And they said, well, nobody. We just kind of hoped that if we jumped on this festival, we'd get a singer. And I said, well, I'll do it. And they said, oh, really? Yeah. So I went and did
Mm,
it. And I met the band face to face for the first time, basically on stage. So
awesome.
but I just recently got asked to front the band Tank, which I declined. Which I thought, I was honored to be asked, but those are some big shoes to fill too. And they ended up getting a guy that's really good. But just stuff
So
like that. It was really
would you be
cool.
play Algie Ward's tank?
Yeah. So, well, that doesn't exist anymore since he
Yeah.
passed away. This happened right after he passed away. So,
Mm,
um, and Algie Ward's tank was pretty inactive,
mm,
but the other version of tank had two of the guitar players that were in the band for quite a long
mm,
time. And, but they wanted me to kind of be like an Algie Ward, right? Like to sing and play bass, but they kind of ended up going with a standalone singer and a standalone bass player, so I think that
mm.
they're a five piece. And we actually just played a festival with them a couple weeks ago just by chance. So but they sounded really good, and it's cool to have to keep those songs alive. There's a lot of debate out there, a lot amongst fans about like different incarnations of bands or how many original members or and sure, I see everybody's point of view on that. But the thing is, it's like once you're in your own band, it's like you pretty much, you have the right to do whatever you really want with it, and like if you're not into it as a fan, you don't have to support it, that's fine, and it's not for everybody, but it sucks to be in a band for that many decades, right? And then not be able to go out and play music that you were a part of because you have a disagreement with a past member or because somebody had passed away, or you know what I'm saying. It's like that's life, that happens. It doesn't take away from what happened,
Mm.
but it's good to go out there and be able to play that stuff, so yeah, I respect everybody's decision on what they want to do with their music, right? So
Well, I
but
mean,
yeah,
everybody's getting older too, so it's now or
sure.
never, right?
Well, you'd think so, man. Like that's kind of how it always was, right? Like rock when I was growing up was a total young man's game. I mean, we used to, when I was in high school and right out of high school, I was touring and we would look at guys that were like 30 and be like, man, don't let me ever get to that point. Like if I'm 30 and I haven't made it yet, like it's done. But since the mainstream culture has died and everything is now a subculture and everything is online and
Mm.
there's scenes of music that probably none of us three guys have ever even heard of that are probably huge that people are way into, and it's kind of cool, like you don't have to be, you don't need the gatekeepers anymore to get you there, and there's an audience for everything now, and that's really cool, and um, you know, I think that now that you got bands that are literally in their 80s that are still touring, like rock bands, it kind of raises the bar for everybody else to keep going, So it's like
The
if you
Stones.
have well, yeah, the Stones. I mean, and look, it's like what, Iron Maiden, they have to be pushing 70,
Mm.
there's some bands, old new wave or British heavy metal bands that are even older than that still in the game, so if there's bands out there doing it like at that age, then that like bands that that came around in the late 80s or early 90s. I mean, they're kind of like halfway done, I mean, they're not, they still have a good another 20-25 years in their career. So
Yeah,
if you can do that.
if they're
So yeah, it's
lucky.
really, yeah, if they're lucky, if they, but you know what I mean? Like as long as people want the music, then there's a reason for these guys to go out and do it.
Well,
What
Cirith
about
Ungol,
Satan? I'm sorry.
I,
Go ahead, Steve.
yeah, I was just going to ask because with Cirith Ungol, they kind of fit in that bracket because they've been around since the early 70s. They essentially were split up for 25 years and they reformed. Were
Right.
you part of the sort of the wheels that got the band back together?
Yeah, I was pretty much like the sole reason for it. Yeah, I had been bothering them for a long time about it. They had broken up for 25 years in complete darkness. I mean, they had sold off their instruments. It's not like they went and formed other bands. They kind of just shunned rock and roll. They were so disenchanted with being in the business for 20 years and everybody wanting them to sound like and look like Motley Crue, and that's just because it kind of wasn't their thing. And
Mm.
playing the game in LA, it's just it just it was a bad thing for them. And yeah, so 25 years away, it was basically, again, it was a thing of Night Demon touring the world and seeing people with Cirith Ungol t-shirts, tattoos, patches everywhere. And I would take photos and send them to these guys and go, look, man, there is an audience out here for you. They would hear about stuff like that, but they really didn't have a scope of it, you know? So it took some time, but it was nice when it finally happened. And it's been, God, it's been almost 8 or 9 years now. So, and a couple new records from them. So it's been really cool. It's probably one of the greatest achievements in my life, to be honest. It's a band that people told me all over the world, like, don't waste your time. Like, it's never going to happen. We've all tried. Everybody's tried. There's been big money thrown at these guys for decades. They're never going to do it. And I kind of just took that as a challenge, you know. But they're really good friends of ours. We're 19 and Cirith Ungol. We're like family, you know. So it's the right situation, you know. That it was the right time and the right group of people. So it's been great, man. It's been awesome.
Well, it's really interesting because we've actually interviewed Michael Moorcock a couple of times.
Nice.
Oh yeah, he's on here. You'll have
That's
to check
cool.
out the interviews. He's a super cool guy, and we know
He's
that
an
there's
interesting dude. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Right.
and there's a tie-in.
Yeah. So
with,
Michael,
like,
well, Michael Whalen did the art for those books, and he did. You know, the band has been licensing a lot of that artwork, especially in the Elric series, you know, since day one. You know, I'd say a lot of the success with Cirith Ungol has to do with the artwork, the iconic artwork of the album covers, you know, and we're pretty good friends with Michael Whalen, and
sure.
still to this day we work with him, you know. Oh, there you go. There you go.
My
Oh,
cassette version of
dude,
One Foot
I
in Hell.
love, that's amazing, man. That's one of my favorite pieces, by the way. And that's honestly, I think, one of the best Cirith Ungol albums. The recording is just atrocious, and it suffers from that, you know. It would be nice to remix that album. We'll see.
Right. Well, I wanted to go back and ask you, touch on Satan a little bit. Did you ever play with them, or?
No. No, and actually that band has all 5 members from the 1983 Court in the Act era still intact, which is extremely rare. I mean, any band from that era, you maybe have one guy, maybe 2 guys, but not 5. Usually it's one. And usually it's not single
I
either.
saw them last year with Venom Inc. Here, outside DC, and that was a really great show. So are you tied with those with those guys at all with Satan?
Yeah, I've managed the band since 2017, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm pretty much in charge of their career, you know. Like, yeah.
Well, it was a great gig.
It's been, I had a lot to do with putting that tour together. It's been nice, man. It's been really enjoyable working with them. I mean, all the bands that I work with, I'm very satisfied with it. It's a nice mix of heavy metal. Everybody's unique on their own. And in my mind, it's got to be stuff you really like, you know? So in my mind, it's the best of the best, and like kind of the bands that I would want on my tombstone, you know, right? So we're kind of like a little gang. We're all friends and kind of like family, but everybody supports each other. And, you know, I think that's missing a lot these days. You know, back in the days, a lot of the record labels were kind of like that too, you know, like the bands knew each other. The labels would put tours together with the bands. Everybody would hang out. They would help out with things too around the office and this is that. And I kind of feel like we have that with our little group here, you know. And it's really rewarding, man.
Under the midnight sun, a lack of guidance will make them come undone. Of horrors, it watches all our hoping sorrows. We bring them across the freedom, they're in the sky. All the kids should see him, so they see a lie. They're coming for me to solve the truth. All things protect me. trusted me with your gift of faith. It'll stay away from anything. The difference from man and from God is no more with
Maybe if you like to talk about some of the other bands that you manage, because I saw Midnight not that long ago. Like, has it just been sort of like an organic process of meeting the bands and saying, "Hey, you need a manager," or do they reach out to you? Like,
Yeah,
how's that evolved?
Right. So like I never really wanted to be a band manager. I mean, I still don't know if I do. I can't see myself not doing it at this point, but I've been on all sides of the business. I've always been in a band, but I've just always had a job in the music industry as far as I can remember. Um, but I don't know. I've always liked to educate myself on the business side of things because that's usually where artists have the hardest time and where they suffer their biggest failures. And I never really wanted to rely on anybody else to do the things that I wanted to do in my musical career. So I think it started with Visigoth, the band from Salt Lake City. They're an amazing band. They were about to sign a deal with an agent that they shouldn't have, and a management company that they shouldn't have. And I knew about these people, and they didn't really know much. The band didn't. And I was like, kind of like, hey, look, I just got to tell you, like, this is a bad idea. Like, you shouldn't be doing this. with these people because I've known a lot of their other clients and they're not very happy. And here's why. Here are the reasons. And they were pretty deflated by that because, they were really kind of looking to take the next step somewhere. And it just came up. Well, like, do you want to manage the band? And I was like, whoa, like I wasn't expecting that. And I said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And since then, it kind of just organically became a thing. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't think I've ever approached a client to manage them. I don't think. With Midnight, I may have suggested it years ago, but only because they were asking me to help them, get signed to a bigger label. So, I mean, it was kind of that thing. So yeah, and I find that too with bands as well. Like I don't think any band should ever, maybe not ever, but don't approach people like that, looking for somebody to manage you or anything like that. These people, they will find you. Just educate yourself the best you can, meet as many people as you can in the music business, go to shows, talk to other bands, develop good relationships with people, and organically, you end up working with people that are like-minded. A lot of times an artist will, and I've been there too when I was young, it's like you want to have this kind of infrastructure around you of people that handle the business and kind of take you to the next level, right? And that's just, I mean, yeah, I guess it does happen sometimes, but usually it's with something happens where you're not really seeing eye to eye with the business side of things, and you really need to have somebody that really understands you as an artist and has your best interest in mind. And that's hard to do with somebody that's not in your band, or a lot of people get into the business side of the music business because they say, I love music, but I never was able to do anything with it, or I never played an instrument, or I never toured. And so it's easy for them to sit behind a desk and make a bunch of decisions for a band and then tell a band to go do it. See, for me, it's like I can look at a tour routing and say, well, hey, that's kind of like I wouldn't do that, like I see. So I'm still the guy in the band doing it too. So I can understand and respect what the actual band has to go through and what they have to deal with and how they make money and how they have to split that money, how they have to make a living, all this stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess I see myself as a lot of things by title technically, but all in all, I'm just like, I just eat, sleep, and breathe, rock and metal and, well, just music in general. I like all kinds of shit, but yeah, that's kind of the way it went about, but I'm not looking to expand or anything like that. Like I said, I'm happy with what I have, and there's only so much time in the day, right? Like,
So from your perspective as a band member or managing a band, because I had a conversation with Skull about this, and I described it as screaming in space, is when you might have this great band, great music, but it's like nobody hears it because there's a million bands out there. So are there any sort of tips, tricks, techniques that you've learned through your experiences to connect people to the music?
no, it changes every day. Technology changes. There's the
Yep.
algorithms and all this stuff. I mean, if something is good enough, it usually gets heard. Um, but that's not to say that great music doesn't. Sometimes it's a lack of effort. Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it's geographics. With the internet, that's made it a lot easier to get out of. I find these days that identifying with a subgenre helps a lot. Like if you can be a part of a scene, it gives you a lot better chances of gaining an audience very quickly. Um, Sometimes things are hard to describe, but being on the fringe of a music scene isn't bad either. In punk rock, there were a lot of bands that were on the fringe of it. Bands like Television or um, Suicide, or what I'm saying. It didn't all have to just be three-chord punk rock, right? Or Talking Heads, whatever. The same with metal. I mean, there's definitely metal's a little bit different. There's like more subgenres in metal than any other style of music. So there's an audience for all of it, and you can create a new subgenre tonight if you wanted to and call it whatever you want, which is kind of cool. But look, I think that time is a great gift to art, you know, like some of the best art divides the audience. You know, it's like if everybody loves it right away, it's probably not that groundbreaking and it's probably not that well thought out. And I think if you can, you know, I guess, okay, how about this? The secret to longevity is that longevity is the secret. But like, I mean, if you stay in the game, don't give up on it and keep trying to make your stuff better for yourself. Like it makes something that inspires you. And that's the infectious nature of art. You know, it's that you got to please yourself first, and you have to be pushing yourself to new boundaries that are you have to test yourself and find a way to use your own voice to express yourself, you know, be unique and be comfortable being you. And that's what people identify with these days, more authentic artists versus just a copycat of everything else, you know. Of course, we all start out wanting to be like our favorite bands and we're influenced by them. There's nothing wrong with that. But really being unique and finding your own voice, I think, will get you farther than anything, you know. But I've tried. Not to say I haven't tried every strategy in the book, and I'm still trying new ones. I've done everything you could think of, and I'm always studying up on what the new thing is or what. But the thing is, like once you know about the new thing, it's already kind of used up. So it's like you have to be creative enough to take a risk and have your own idea about how you want to promote your music and just try it, you know, and it could work. So I don't know, that's kind of a multifaceted answer, but I have gotten used to not being attached to any results anymore. Once the music is finished, it's completed, and it gets released into the public, I have to just find a way to feel satisfied that it even got done and it got done the way that we all wanted it to be. And that's it, you know, and then you move on to the next creative project. You can't control what people are going to say or feel about your art. You just can't. And once you can accept that, it's really freeing.
And is it the same? I'm not
And
sure whether you still work as a promoter, but is it the same that there's no playbook, there's no, you know, 7 steps to success in, you know, running a show or running a festival? Is it always evolving as well?
well, I think a festival has a little bit more of a blueprint that's a success blueprint to follow. Obviously, you need talent. Good location helps a lot. Somewhere that people want to be, a desirable location, because with a festival you have to bank on tourism. You can't bank on local people because those people are just going to want to get in for free or say it's too expensive, you know. So you have to really you have to make it a destination for people. You have to do something special with it too. So yeah, new ideas are good for that. But one thing about a festival is you can be at your event the day that it happens and easily look around and you'll know how hard you worked on it. Like you could just tell right away. You could tell by how many people are there and if they're having a good time or not. I've been there on both ends, good and bad, you know? So there's never enough work you can do in promotion, man, you know? And it takes all, you know, there's so many factors involved, but there's always something more you can do, you know? It never ends.
Sure. So you have multiple dates coming. When you come to the Doomfest, you guys are going to be playing out a little bit more too in the area?
No, we're actually going to take like 7 weeks off after that. So the first time in the year. So we're just going to fly home after that. We've got a lot of dates leading up to that in Europe, China, Australia,
Uh,
stuff like that, you know? So
China.
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
So
Yeah,
Midnight
man.
we're just out there. Like, how did you? Because that's not a market that's very common compared to say Japan or even Korea? Like, how did you sort of hook up connections there?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually quite a few very good promoters in China, and numbers wise, the shows are way more successful in China than say Japan. I would say probably a 5-to-1 attendance.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and people really, I mean, the Japanese audience is wonderful. They're great. They're very respectful and they're good supporters. Um, but the Chinese audience is very hungry for this stuff. And, they do have a lot more people, but I don't feel like that matters though. That doesn't mean anything because what we see in the United States or even in Europe, I mean, you play bigger cities like London, Paris, yeah, New York City, LA. Um, you generally get lower turnouts in the major cities than you would in some smaller markets. So the amount of people in the city doesn't matter anymore. That just means they have a lot of options. They're spoiled, right? So,
Mm.
but yeah. I mean, China is a great market, and it's like we were supposed to go to Russia the summer of 2020. Then the pandemic happened, and then the war happened. So it's like we're just trying to go to every place we can and enjoy the culture there and play for these fans before our countries get into some kind of a tussle where we can't do that. That has nothing to do with us. It's completely out of our hands. But people are people everywhere around the world, and we're so similar to each other, that it just goes way beyond religion or politics. I mean, there's so many just great music fans around the world that really it's a thrill to play for them.
I wanted to ask you, well, two things. Is that an Iomi shirt?
Yeah, it says I
Okay.
believe. Yeah, so it's like he's like Jesus there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's killer. The other thing is you talked about when you started in your early career, where did you so you're in California, right?
Uh-huh.
So how did you get started out? What kind of band was it? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just started out like kind of in a heavy metal band. I went to a Christian school and they were it was like in the height of the Satanic Panic, and they were just really, really pushing us away from rock music. But the way it backfired on them is they just over and over and over again, like hitting us in the head with a hammer over and over again, just showing us examples of what to stay away from, like specifics, like here's Stairway to Heaven backwards. We're like, whoa, here's this metallic song that's about
Yeah,
suicide.
here's Iron
Whoa, here's
Maiden.
ACDs. Yeah, and I'm like, they just kept exposing us over and over again to this great music. And I was just like, wow, this is like, thank you for teaching me at such a young age, like what my path in life is, It's like it was exactly the opposite of what they intended, but it was that exposure. And I'm telling you, detailed of all of this stuff. Here's the lyrics, take them home, study them. Uh, this is what to stay. And I'm like, okay, it's like, all right, Ozzy Osbourne, he's the devil incarnate. And I'm
Yeah,
like
the Prince
listening
of
to his,
Darkness.
yeah. And I'm like listening to those records and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, I mean, come to find out, Bob Daisley wrote all those songs, but like still at the time, I didn't know that. And I was a young kid and I was like, it was expanding my mind. I was like, man, he's talking about like nuclear war,
Mm.
I mean, if you really read some of those early Ozzy lyrics, I mean, just really, some corruption, political corruption, romance, everything, and you're just like, I wasn't exposed to any of those truths
Mhm.
or that side of thinking about life at all, so it was really nice. It was really nice and it was life changing for sure.
Was it,
So
well, did you
but
start
yeah.
off in the thrash scene or?
Yeah, I mean, like I started out playing drums and then I started playing guitar and then just kind of formed my own band with this two other guys that I knew in the Christian school, just playing kind of like heavy metal. And we were into the thrash stuff too, Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, all that. Um, and then, just messed around with like the punk scene was really big where we came from. There wasn't any metal
Mhm.
bands. So we were always playing within the hardcore punk scene, and that taught us a lot of like the DIY ethic of how to do things. And we had a lot of friends. A lot of people in that scene really respected us a lot because we cared about the musicianship a lot more than those bands. And they were kind of like, whoa, like it's that's something to be respected instead of because back in the day there was a divide between metal and punk. It was
Oh yeah.
it's not like it was it's not like it was today, and we came in right after the crossover thing had happened, right after like the shows were like really violent. And if you had long hair at a punk show, you might get beat up just for that reason. I mean, it's wild,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I just grew up in that scene, and then just started promoting my own shows at like community centers, a laser tag venue. I started working at bigger venues and doing stuff there. Started touring with bands, going out with my own bands, and it just kind of all evolved from there.
Awesome. Well,
Okay.
I have to ask you because I ask everybody. We're all massive. Well, I'm a massive Rush fan. We'll get to that in a minute, but we're all massive Motorhead fans. And it turns out everyone seems to have either a Lemmy or Motorhead story. Do you have one?
I don't have a real specific story, but I've met Lemmy at least 6 or 7 times.
That counts.
Back, yeah, well,
I never
back in
met
the
the guy.
day, okay, well, back in the day, growing up in Southern California, especially when I was a lot younger, it was a magical time, man. Like you go to shows in Hollywood all the time, and no matter what size the venue was, I mean, guys like Lemmy would just be there. Like you would go to a club and see at least 10 guys that you knew, like from bands, like from all the great bands. They would just be there
Rock
and like there to
stars.
see. Yeah, but like cool people, like
Yeah.
so yeah, Lemmy. God, I remember seeing Lemmy at a bunch of concerts, and he was always cool. He'd go up and say hi to him. This was before selfies or before photos were a thing, smartphones, so autographs were a thing. So I do have some autographs.
Nice.
I saw him at the Rainbow a couple times, and he was just always at the end of the bar playing the Mega Touch machine, and he was just always very friendly, kind of kept to himself, but he wasn't wild by any means, but he was just a cool guy. He had that energy that it wouldn't allow you or give you the notion to go punish him, to be like, or to go and just bother him or overstep your bounds. He had that demeanor about him where you never felt like ever doing that. You know what I'm saying? Even if no matter how starstruck you were, he had a way of making you not feel that way and making you feel comfortable enough to be like, to respect his privacy in a way, and just a simple nod sometimes about like, hey, Lem, it's like, hey, man, that's it, like, hey, Lem, you fucking rule. And he's like, thanks, man, you too, that's it.
Exactly. That sounds like him.
But I mean, you'd always know it. Like if I was playing at the Roxy or something, always out of the corner of my eye, you'd see like, who's walking across the street in white cowboy boots right now? Oh, that's Lemmy. You know what I mean? Like, just, yeah, super cool.
Man.
Warrior of Time! Let me hear what you got, brother!
Now, you guys have played a zillion shows. You're the ultimate road warriors. Are there any particular venues that stuck out for you? Because you've played all kinds of venues as memorable venues because the unique. And are there any bands that you've played with that you were surprised that they're not way bigger than they should be?
Well, to answer the first question, I seem to remember the bad ones, the bad venues. So, because they were just painful experiences. So I don't want to call them out. One thing that was cool, we played at the Hollywood Palladium, which is a very big venue. And I had been going to shows there for years growing up. So being able to come out on tour and play there was great. My grandparents had actually met there at a dance right after the war,
Wow.
and they were still alive at the time when I played the show. So I invited them to the show, and like I was on stage, and I at one point glanced up and saw them up in the balcony, and so that was a pretty cool like full circle moment there, you know. Um, uh, that was just
Awesome.
totally one of those things. Like they met right after the war at a dance at this place in the 40s. And like we're married a week later, you know, like and we're together for like 60 years. So but anyway, as far as bands like that I thought should be way bigger or would be way bigger. No, not really. I mean, I've been in the concert industry, I mean, since I was 13. So I'm 43 now. So 30 years I've been in the concert like business. And I've seen rock like shrink in a live setting, I think, over the years. So a lot of bands play clubs now that at in their heyday, I would think like there's no way this band's gonna play here. And in a lot of major cities, like there's a lot of underplays. You know, a lot of major cities will have what you think is a big band at a pretty small venue. Um, I by no means think rock is dead, like Gene Simmons said. You know, like but it's of course it's not dead. Ska isn't dead, so rock's not dead. But um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've I've seen a lot. I've seen way too many concerts in my life to even think about that. There is I will say though, there are a lot of bands that I saw in the early 2000s, like right before like high speed internet was a thing, like late 90s, early 2000s, bands that I loved that were no longer popular in any kind of mainstream capacity, that were playing to nobody, that now have a bigger audience than they've ever had. And I'm talking about bands like Iron Maiden, I'm talking about Ronnie James Dio, Motorhead, King Diamond, all those guys. I never saw more than it's probably on a scale of 1 to 800 people at any of those shows. So it's nice to see those bands get back up on top. And again, the secret to longevity is the secret, and that's why I say that. Keep going, you know.
Right. Well, I wanted
People will
another
get it.
thing.
They'll get it later. They'll get it later, you know.
Right. I wanted to ask you, we ask everybody on here, what's the craziest or weirdest writer you've ever seen?
Man, I wish I could.
The writer question.
You know what? Hang on a sec here. I'm in my office right now. I want to see if I have access to this. No, I don't. There is a binder that I have from my old promoting days when I was like a teenager. I did some pretty wild shows. Again, like these bands that you think were big. Like I did a Wasp show and there was 50 people there, but the writer was fucking insane. I still think I have that somewhere. I have all my old contracts. Well, let's see. I did when I was 17, I promoted a show for Foreigner actually.
Wow.
And yeah, and Lou Graham was still in the band, the singer, and Mick Jones was there. Um and they required a full-time EMT with oxygen tanks. And I'm like, well, what's the deal with that? And it's like these guys, the story I was told was like these from the road manager is like, I'm like, it's just everything like
Are they gonna
because
die?
this was all advanced, you know. It's not like they show up and ask for it, like they you know ahead of
Sure,
time,
sure,
you
sure.
know. Yeah, and it's like the band gets gnarly hangovers, is what I was told, and like the oxygen is like really helps them with the hangovers. So I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, you know, and like also saline IVs were requested, you know, so an EMT or a paramedic to administer an IV and oxygen tanks.
To clean
Um,
out their blood or whatever.
yeah, and I remember they had like 2 rows of tape, white tape in front of Lou Graham's mic stand, and it was the venue I did it at was in Ventura, California, and it just
Hmm.
they wrote on it really big, Ventura. So like he knew where he was when he addressed the audience, you know. So um
Awesome.
I also did on my 18th birthday, I did Dark Funeral's first ever US show and brought them over from Norway. And their rider was very simple. It was
Wow.
one bottle of whiskey, 4 pints of pig's blood, 2 frozen pig heads, and 6 hot meals. And it was that, and it was printed out, you know. And I was like, okay, I got a fax at the time. If you remember what a fax machine
Hmm.
was, that's what came through there. So that was an
Wait.
interesting.
Was that like 97 or 98?
It was 99. It was February of 99.
Well, I saw them here outside of DC on that tour.
Okay.
I think I saw
Well, there
them
you
on
go.
that tour.
There you go. There you go.
That's killer.
Yeah.
That's it. Well,
So,
that sounds like a black metal writer to me for sure. What about Wasp? But what was crazy about the Wasp one?
well, I don't remember about the writer, but I remember about the show, and it was horrible. I they I
Well,
it was a big.
Blackie's notoriously difficult, I've heard.
Oh my God, man. I mean, it was a big production to say the least for the popularity of the band at that time. You know, I mean, I was
Hmm.
excited because I was a big fan, you know, and I was doing
Sure.
stuff. Sometimes I'd do things that I'd have to do to please an agent or to get some leverage with an agent or to make some money so I could lose money on the things I loved, you know? I mean, that's kind of how it goes. Like a
Hmm.
Wasp thing.
Sure.
But I remember they had a huge production. And I remember I do remember this. So this is 2002, I believe. I paid them a total of $6,500 for the show, which now is probably 65,000. Seriously,
Mhm.
it's probably, but at least it's probably what they get
Wow.
paid for a show. Yeah. They brought in all this production, and they had like everybody had like the motorcycle handlebar stands and all this.
I remember.
I had to have like 6 loaders at noon. So I have staff on all day. I'm having to feed their whole crew, lunch, dinner, all this shit. We sold like 50 tickets to the show. I had 3 pay-to-play bands on it that each sold 50 tickets each. So that's 200 people, but only 50 people there that really cared about Wasp. Um, so all this is happening. The 3 opening bands play. It's about 45 minutes after that third support act finishes, and I'm like, what is going on? When is this band coming on stage? The audience is getting a little restless. Somebody comes to get me and says, "Hey, you have a phone call." So I go to my office and I say, "Hello, hey, it's Blackie," and I'm like, "Dude, where the fuck are you?" I'm backstage. I'm like, "You're calling me from the backstage phone. Get on stage." He's like, "You need to come back here." So I have to run through the venue, and my office and the backstage were like on opposite sides of this huge theater. And I go back there, and he's like in his blue jeans, no makeup on, nothing, going like, "Man, what the fuck is this all about? What's going on out there?" I go, "What do you mean what's going on out there? It's fucking showtime, you know?" And I think I was, God, yeah, I was like 19 years old or something, you know? And here's this guy who's like, I'm a hero of mine, you know?
Hmm.
And he's like, "I'm not fucking going out there, man. You see that crowd? I'm not fucking going out there." He's like, "You should have promoted this show." I said, "Man, I did everything I can. I love you. Sorry, nobody else does, you know? He's like, I'm not fucking going out there. So I was like, all right, well, fuck off. And I had to go out there and tell the audience when his whole stage was set up. His crew was ready. You know, he put his crew through this too. And I had to tell
Wow.
them what was going on, and 50 people rioted. And it's like it was funny. Like I thought at first, like, why are they beating each other up? You know, like, and then it was like they just tore the place apart, man. They kicked through the ticket booth windows, and like it just sucked, man. You know,
Wow.
and I had already sent the deposit to the agency, and then they didn't want to give it back to me. It was a whole fucking thing. Sorry, I'm burning up all this time on this, but you asked, so there's
No,
I've got a
no, it's
lot of them,
cool.
dude. Yeah,
That's what it's
I've
all
got a
about,
lot of
man.
them. But see, that's why I want to work with bands like Midnight and Satan, and you know, like uh Visigoth, Cirith Ungol, Night Demon. It's like I just want to work with real bands with cool people. Like I don't
Sure.
and honest artists, you know. I don't care about I don't want to work anymore with any fucking rock star jackasses, you know? And
Sure.
look, dude, I've made a lot of dumb decisions in my career. I've had years of alcohol and drug abuse and made just stupid decisions, you know? So I'm no angel, you know, and I've done a lot of stupid things to a lot of people, you know, that I regret. So no hard
Sure.
feelings against Blackie Lawless after all these years, you know, um but you know, hey, whatever. It was an experience, and it's like it's
Right.
you go through things in life, you know. I'm sure, you know, it is what it is. So
Right. Right.
Cool. So just before we wrap,
so
before
yeah.
just before we wrap up, obviously, you're coming out to Australia for the first time. I don't believe you've visited Australia before. So, do you have any particular expectations about this tour?
Yeah, so my mother was born in Australia, and my sister lived
Hmm.
there for a few years after college. I have still never been to Australia. I tried to get citizenship there actually just because my mom was born there, but there was some reason for some reason I couldn't, just because I wanted to be a citizen of another nation, just because why not if you can't, right? You know, but I'm very excited to go. I mean, there's not too many places within the normal touring market of the world that I haven't been. And this is just it's like a bucket list thing, and like it's really cool when you get to go somewhere for the first time. And I'm just like I don't know what to expect, to be honest. I just everything to look different and new, you know. And then the second time that I go, then it'll just be whatever, you know. But no, no, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to just connecting with the fans because there are so many people out there since we've been a band that have just been you gotta come to Australia. It's almost like on every time we post a tour, where's Australia? And finally we get to do it. I feel like a lot of bands are starting to come to Australia a little more now. The pandemic really hurt that for Australian fans. Also, that Shockwave Festival, when that thing got canceled, the touring market really slowed down in Australia, you know, and I feel like it's coming back now, and I'm really happy to be a part of that influence.
Well, I was just going to follow up and say, just to validate what you said about Blackie. Now, people can change. People chill out when
Yeah.
they get older.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say, I did see them on the tour, the Code tour, headlining thing with Motorhead in the late '90s, and
Uh-huh.
and Lemmy like notoriously said that he would never work with him again. Now, to upset Lemmy, I mean that's very telling because, like you said, he's super chill, laid back, easy to get along guy. So, I mean that's all you need to know right there about the whole thing, about the
Yeah, and you know
personality.
what though? I'll tell you too, because I mean, you know, we tour a lot as a band and we tour with other bands. We tour with our heroes sometimes. We tour with bigger bands. And sometimes it's not even just like that guy in that band is a total asshole or something like that. It's not even to that extent. Sometimes it's just like there's just stupid little shit that bands will do to other bands on tour or restrictions they'll have where it's like, dude, what the fuck? Like competitive shit that like no
Sure,
band wants to
sure.
deal with. Like when you've been doing this long, you really just want to go on tour with bands you want to listen to every night and bands that
Sure.
are just cool fucking guys to hang out with. You want to and when we bring bands out to support us, like we want them to have everything. Like we want them to have the best possible show. Like we're there to expose them to our fans, you know? Like they're not there to make us look better. You know, we're not threatened by that. We're here to give the audience the best possible all-around show they can have, you know. So there are things like that that may make a band say they will never tour with another artist, you know. There
Mhm.
are some things like that. But if you're an asshole, then yeah, you probably do those things. So but dude, I saw Wasp last year, or was it last year? Maybe 2022. Yeah. It was fucking great, man. You know, there were some
Sure.
backing tracks going on and stuff, but I couldn't really I thought it was a great show. I really enjoyed it, you know, and you know, the dude's cool to his fans, and that's really what matters. He doesn't need somebody like me bad mouthing him on 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 the air. You know what I mean? Like I do regret a little bit saying that. I don't like to talk bad about people publicly.
It's
I
not
really
bad
don't.
mouthing, man.
I don't.
We're just it's old war
Yeah,
stories.
yeah.
You know, I
No,
think
yeah,
we've all
yeah. I
been
mean,
through.
it did happen. It did happen.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It did.
yeah.
So,
It's just old
yeah,
war stories, and you know,
yeah,
people
yeah,
talk about that kind of shit. You know, it was a
yeah,
million
yeah.
years ago, and it's all a part of the rich rock and roll history, man. You know,
Hmm.
it's just all a part of it. Um, but I was just gonna say, I mean, you already kind of said it a little bit, but do you have any last words for your fans out there?
Yeah, I mean, really, just for anybody that's into anything, any kind of artistic endeavor in life, just always remember to do it for the enjoyment of it and do it to your heart's extent. The success usually comes when you're getting lost in it, you know, and don't do anything for money. Just that stuff that stuff will come when you become the best at what you do, you know. But don't make decisions based on that. Obviously, we need to survive, and we all live under different circumstances individually, and there's no shame in that and doing what you have to do to survive and make a living, you know. But the idea of art needs to be pure, and it needs to come from a pure place in order for it to be um to be a product or to be um used as commerce. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I think a lot of people were taught by the media it's a reverse order with shows like American Idol and this stuff. It's like it's all about fame, or you know, Instagram and TikTok, it's all about fame and this stuff. But really it's about the craft, and it's about um it's self-expression, you know. Self-expression is a right that every one of us have, and it's a rite of passage. It's the meaning of life, in my opinion. And any way you can be self-expressive, no matter what that is, everybody should do that and put time and thought into how you want to express yourself in life. And if you really enjoy doing it and you find that it's all you do, some people they'll want more of that, you know, and they'll support you doing it.
Sure, man. Well, that's awesome. Well, I just you have any last words, Steve?
No, no. I'll let you end the show.
All right. As usual, I have one last thing to say here, and that is remember, look to the stars, carry that torch of enlightenment, and strive to be a rock and roll disciple in the Brotherhood of Orpheus. Peace.
Love it, man.
like a banshee, stuck like a hog. You're gonna love me. Ooh, let's go.